under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome everyone to a regular session of the Goldendale City Council for April 18th, 2022. Time is moving on. We have one council member missing. He's working a night shift at the 911 center, so I need a motion to excuse him.
I so move. Oh, no.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to excuse Phil Ontiveros from attending this particular city council meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. We don't have a public hearing tonight, but we do have an agenda to adopt and a consent agenda. Do we have a motion?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second?
That's an agenda and a consent agenda, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
very good, thank you.
Agenda and consent.
Yep. We have a motion to approve the agenda for this meeting and the consent agenda. Any questions or discussions? Otherwise, I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Now, we are going to have a presentation. The person's not here yet, right, Larry?
I do not see him.
Is he going to be on Zoom or anything? Or?
He's not on Zoom.
We'll go on past that point. See what we do after that. We'll go to our department reports, and we'll start with Police Chief Jay Hunsaker.
The only thing I wanted to pass on tonight is on the 7th, the observatory had their grand opening to their new observatory. We, along with the assistance of city park, or the county park, state parks, law enforcement, Cook County Sheriff's Office, and the Washington State Patrol, we assisted with traffic control for the event, and of course the governor came to that event. Everything went smoothly. We did have a handful of protesters show up. They were very polite to law enforcement. They did not violate any laws, and they left short not too long afterwards, so we had absolutely no problem with them. And the whole entire event with the placards that state parks put out stuff, we had very good results for the traffic control point that led up to the event. So all in all, it went well. I had the WSP Executive Protection Team reach out to me and thanked us for all our assistance, and so we had no problems, and that's it.
Thank you.
Good event.
Thank you. And to clear up one item about that event, the mayor was not lecturing the governor on anything. We've had a number of calls. What were you fussing with the governor about? I was talking about the weather.
That's what the picture looked like.
Yeah.
The picture's worth 1,000 apologies.
Yeah.
We'll next hear from our fire chief, Goldendale Fire Department, Noah Hall.
Mayor, I don't have anything tonight.
But you had a busy weekend. Do you want to mention any of that? That was
Yeah,
quite a weekend.
we had there was 2 back-to-back medical calls here in town, a couple blocks away from each other. Happened basically, one got paged out. We started going en route. They paged out another one, and as you guys know, hopefully know, Cook County EMS has 3 ambulances to the county. One in Goldendale, one in Dallasport, one in White Salmon. I believe White Salmon was on a transfer, so Dallasport was in White Salmon. Goldendale was in Goldendale, went to the first call. So then at that point we have to wait for a medic from White Salmon to come to Goldendale. There was a lot of commotion going on. It was a pretty major event going on at Holcomb Centuries. So you've probably seen heard a lot of sirens and stuff going on. It would have been yesterday afternoon, 3-ish, I believe. So yeah, it was busy, but our volunteers, we actually had a pretty good crew to get both calls taken care of. So
That's good. Thank you. Is Doug on the line, or?
I do not believe he is.
Okay, we won't cover public works unless you want to report on anything. I know later on we have some public works.
The only thing that I'll mention, that I won't mention, I'll mention it right now because it's public works, but many people have been wondering about when we're gonna film the street cut on Simcoe, where they put in that sewer main.
Right.
Scheduled for tomorrow, hopefully.
Very good.
So, Thursday. Oh, I should have let you say that, shouldn't I? Okay, Dustin says Thursday.
Okay. The weather is certainly understandable. We'll go on to council business now. And the first item on council business is the Klickitat County parking plan. You have a copy of it, council. And Corey Kelsey's going to present this, I believe.
Yeah. Good evening again. So we took back the feedback from the hearing 2 weeks ago now, and have come up with a plan that doesn't require vacation of Grant Street. So we lost about 12 spaces in doing so, but it'll take up, we got angled parking on the county's property that we purchased, and then we got another row that's partially on the city right away on the west side and partially on the county property. So the map, the red lines are the existing curb lines and sidewalks, and then the blue is all the new stuff. So the parking that's right up against the jail, really there's only enough width for parallel parking. So we changed those to parallel spots. We got angled parking, 2 rows of angled parking. We have a one-way off of Court Street that exits onto Grant on the bottom, toward the bottom of the page. You can kind of see, follow those arrows, the big blue arrows around. And so I think this meets most of the requirements. Couldn't meet everything that everybody wanted, but this I think gets the majority of the things covered that were discussed last time. And we only lost 12 spaces, so that's not too bad.
And Corey, I have a question. I think, to me, it's clear. The different people that came from the Nazarene Church, it was right across the street from that courthouse. I think this meets what they were asking, that they have places to park during their church meetings.
Sure, yeah.
And that works well.
Yeah, and access, not to drive around the block to get to those places.
Exactly. It helps. It's a safety thing as well. Good. Any comments or questions?
The width of Grant Street will remain the same, or you're going to widen it a little bit?
No, so you can see the red lines, those are the existing curbs. That'll
Okay.
be the exact same as they are today. We'll start at the gutter line basically on the west side or left side of the page as you're looking at it, and we'll change all that over to the edge of our property to build the parking. So
And
the
you're
street
moving
will
this-
stay the same.
You're moving the sidewalk?
Yeah, so there, you kind of see the faint red lines down the middle. That's, in order to get that other row of parking, we're just moving and rebuilding the sidewalk a few feet
Sure.
to the west.
Okay. Well done.
Very nicely done.
I think this design's better than the last one, my
Good.
personal opinion.
Good.
It looks real good, but then people from the church, they still have to go by Court Street if they want to park in there, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Well, it's kind of the same way it is now. If they want to come from the south, they can just go up Grant Street, come into the parking lot and diagonally park or circle back on.
Okay,
It's kind of the same idea layout as it is today.
okay.
Well, that'll be a new entrance, you'll develop a new entrance there on the north side out of Court.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
correct. Yeah, and the exit will change. Right now, it basically comes straight out of the alley onto Grant.
Good. And that also, I think, impedes any quick cut across traffic as well.
Yeah.
Looks like you really did a nice job. I would appreciate such a quick response. That was really kind.
Good.
I would say in order to wrap this up, that the council needs to go ahead and approve the parking plan and also make known in that statement that does not include vacation of Grant Street. And then that'll take care of the Grant Street vacation process. We'll close that file out and that'll be denial. And then it also takes the former site plan for the parking, revises it just a little bit, and this says, so you're adopting this plan.
I move to not vacate Grant Street between Court and Allen Street and to adopt the revised parking plan without vacating Grant Street.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to not vacate Grant Street between Court and Allen Street and to adopt the revised parking plan without vacating Grant Street. Any questions or discussion before we vote?
Does that satisfy you guys?
Yeah.
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good, very good. It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gordy.
Thank you.
Really appreciate the response. The next item is one that we've all had many questions about and looked at, and wanted to wonder when Byers Street was going to happen. The next item is the Byers Street Road and Water Improvement, and Dustin Conroy will present that. Thank you, Dustin.
You bet. So on April 6th, we had the bid opening for Byers Street. We received 2 bids, one from Crestline, one from Beam Construction. Crestline was the parent low bidder at that bid opening in the amount of $977,885.83. We reviewed their bid and everything was included, bid bond and all necessary paperwork. It was a little bit higher than the engineer's estimate and also the initial application into TIB. TIB has agreed to cover an additional $100,000 in grant money. And so I recommend that the bid be awarded to Crestline Construction for construction this summer.
Thank you, and thank you for the recommendation too. Any comments or questions?
I move to award the bid from Crestline Construction for the 2022 Byers Street Improvement Project not to exceed the amount of $977,885.83.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to award the bid from Crestline Construction for the 2022 Byers Street Improvement Project not to exceed the amount of $977,885.83. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. It's
Is
unanimous.
there, can we ask Dustin, is there anything else going on that you need to report to the council other than
Just Simcoe will be paved on Thursdays, the plan, weather permitting. That's the only other thing that I know.
okay.
That's from the Highway 97 to,
No, it's just where they went across it with the sewer line.
right.
I still haven't got an update on when they expect to start the Highway 97 project, but I know that they've started marking things on the highway, so I think they're waiting for warmer weather though.
Yeah, right, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. The next item is the capital outlay request, purchase of coins for the 150th year celebration, and Dave Jones will present this item.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Before I talked about the coins, I thought I'd give a progress report about the time capsule project altogether, if that's okay. So just to recap what the project and event will be about, the time capsule was buried in 1972 as part of the town's centennial celebration. It was to be opened for the sesquicentennial. Larry, can you say that?
No, I cannot.
Okay, that's the 150th anniversary of Goldendale, which is this year. So several months ago, the Time Capsule Committee was formed to handle it. The city council members are myself and Andy and Ellie, and then we have several people from the community that have really been working hard to make this a fun kickoff to Community Days. The event will be a kickoff to the community days, like I said, scheduled for Friday, July 8th at 6:30 p.m. And one of the reasons we chose Friday evening was to encourage former Goldendale residents to come home for community days this year and have class reunions and family reunions and join in all of the community days we'll offer, starting with this time capsule celebration on Friday. And then they can stay the night here in our hotels and join in community days on Saturday also. So at the time capsule event, the contents of the capsule will be revealed and displayed, along with a great display of historical photos of the area and other surprises. And this is going to be a total family-friendly event. For the kids, there's going to be the bouncy houses on the courthouse lawn and the climbing wall. And then we're going to have a scavenger hunt for the kids. And so as you might know, we will also be burying a new time capsule. And it'll be open 50 years from now for the bicentennial of Goldendale. So make sure to mark that on your calendars. 2072.
I plan to be there.
Okay.
I'll be there.
I'm pleased to tell you that the new time capsule has already been constructed. I want to give thanks to Art Maines and Travis Gray. They met with our time capsule committee and talked about the design for it. And Travis Gray, he's already built it. I have some pictures of it here I'll pass around.
Should we say who donated the...
Yep, Republic Services donated the time capsule for us. They donated the material and the labor to build it, and it's all done, and there it is. So it's going to hold a pretty good amount of stuff. You see the tape measure on it there. And the other thing is we're currently seeking items to put in the time capsule. So I wanted to pass you guys out. This is a letter that we came up with seeking the community for things to put in the time capsules, and we're going to be distributing that to the schools and different places. And I thought it might be a fun idea also. Maybe the city council and the mayor can come up with something from us to put in the time capsule also. And it'll get around to you guys, and maybe the city police department and the fire department, they might want to put something in the, like Jay might have a badge of his that he wants to put in there, I don't know. But anyways, we can get a lot of community involvement that way, and you know, we could even distribute it to the people who work here in City Hall, and the Public Works crew might have a piece of dirt or something they want to put in it also.
Dave, you want these extras to go on?
Yeah, that'd be great. I made a bunch of copies. Maybe the county commissioners can think of something they want to put in there too.
Big box of red tape.
Something good. Okay.
It cannot be a living creature.
So now I'll move on to the matter about these coins and the budget for them. So we've been budgeted $5,000 from the tourism fund to put this on and to pay for everything. One of the goals that we had was to try where we could to use local companies to work with on things. For instance, some of that money will go to the new granite marker that we're having constructed. That's being done by Pioneer Rock and Monument, local company here. It's going to be a real nice new monument that we're going to put over the top of the time capsule. Another thing, we are working with a local graphic design company, Visual Verb Design and Print, and you'll see the logo that we have. Now this logo is not only for the coin, but that's part of the main logo that we're using for the sesquicentennial itself. Anyways, okay, now I'll kind of look at you guys got a chance to look at this coin that we came up with. On the one side it has the 150 and it has a picture of a windmill in there and the mountains and different trees and grapes and wheat. And the other side has, just the things we came up with that we thought represented Goldendale pretty good, like the observatory and the Presby and the Red House and Stonehenge, and there's even a timber wolf in the background there. And that's an outline map of Klickitat County with a star right there in the middle representing Goldendale. So it's going to be a really nice looking coin. That's going to be full color on one side and 3D. So anyway, this is going to be a real fancy looking coin. That's why the price tag's so high on it. But the gist of it is, as you can see in the next page, the invoice we have here, it obviously way exceeds our budget, but the whole request we have here is, once the coins arrive, this amount will need to be paid. But the deal I want to make is, we're going to sell these coins for $10 each, and we're going to have 1,000 of them. Some of them we might use to give out for prizes for the scavenger hunt and for people who have helped us out in digging up the courthouse lawn and everything. But anyway, so we're going to sell them for $10 a piece. That's more than going to make up the cost of them, and that's what this whole proposal is about there. If Andy or Ellie had any input, or Larry?
I think you summed it up really good.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, that's a great project.
Yes, it is, it is.
So, the first thing we need to do is adopt the capital outlay to approve the capital outlay because it's more than $5,000. The second thing that'll have to be done will be done at a later date, and that will be to increase the budget for tourism expenditures. But in its place, we will say the revenue will be collected to offset that increase in expenditures. So we'll have an increase in expenditure of $8,000, but then we're also going to have money coming in on the purchase and sale, on the sale of the coins. So there will have to be some accountability as you collect the money for the coins. And then that money will be turned into the city to offset the cost of making the coins.
Right.
Very good.
But the first order of business is a capital outlay request because
Yeah.
the coins need to be ordered and made so that they can be here in time to be sold as they see fit.
Well, I so move we approve the capital outlay project for the coins. The amount, I want to say 1,800, or what amount do I want to say? Or do I say the whole 7,800?
The amount of the capital outlay would be $8,000.
8,000, okay, $8,000.
$8,000 even, so it's a little bit more than the actual invoice.
Okay. Anyway, I so move, Mayor.
Okay. We have a second.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Now, do you have comments or questions before we vote?
Friendly amendment to maybe reserve 200 of those coins to be used for, recognized citizens or dignitaries that come to visit, that sort of thing, so that 800 are sold to recoup the 8,000.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I think that's real well worth it.
Yep.
I'm perfectly fine with that, yeah.
Before we vote on the motion, we need a motion to clear the amendment, to adopt the amendment that has been put forward to provide
So there's
200 other coins towards recognizing every student.
Yeah, Marlon just has to agree with it, right?
And then
So
the
what it
second,
is? Okay, I so agree.
and
Whoever
Steve.
seconded it.
Who seconded it?
Okay,
Steve
Steve
did.
did. And you're okay with that?
okay, good. Okay, we have a motion and a second to authorize a capital outlay request for $8,000 for the design and purchase of the sesquicentennial coin and providing 200 coins for recognition of different important events and important visitors to our city. The revenue received from the sale of these coins will be received by the tourism fund. If there aren't further questions or comments, we'll vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Nay.
You should get full credit for having done all the work.
I should.
Any opposed?
Nay. Nay.
You do.
I do.
Okay, we have one in opposition, but the motion passes as amended. Okay, good.
Thank you.
The next item is the capital outlay request from the wastewater treatment plant operations building computer replacement. And Andy O'Connor's on hand to explain that request.
I did not, I was going to speak. I'm Andy O'Connor from the city of Goldendale.
Do you need any of this to refer to?
It's all in my head.
Okay.
No, what this is a computer that houses a program for all of our water system and wastewater system, and it's showing the typical computer signs of failure. It's locking up, and this new computer is more of a server grade. I guess it's more robust, and it should be sufficient for all our new upgrades and everything. So it's something we gotta have, and we can't have a failure.
No, certainly right. Are there any questions or comments for Andy before we consider the motion?
How soon will this be installed?
I don't know if we've heard a date from Redcom.
Is it in It just says sign this when we're ready to go. It didn't give a time.
Yeah.
But it's needed, so we
Yeah.
need to get the clock ticking on it.
Oh, exactly.
So that the other one doesn't fail before this one is installed.
I'm just kind of wondering how long we'd have to wait.
Well,
I don't know how long it took us to get ours, so. It was maybe a month.
I was gonna say 4 to 6 weeks.
Oh, okay, that's not bad.
Do we have a motion to approve this capital outlay for the,
I move to approve a capital outlay request for the replacement purchase of the SCADA, SCADA computer server in an amount of $10,000.
I'll second
I'll
it.
second.
it's been moved and seconded to approve a capital outlay request for the replacement purchase of the SCADA computer server in an amount of $10,000. Any further comments or questions? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. We don't have resolutions or ordinances to consider tonight, so we'll begin our report of officers and city administrator, and Larry Bellamy, our city administrator, will be the first to speak. Larry?
Okay, I just want to kind of go over some scheduling, a few items that are on the calendar. We had talked about having an event committee meeting earlier before the council meeting, but that didn't work out. Instead, we had another meeting to consider some items, but we do need to have an event committee meeting, and I'm going to send out the notice tomorrow for an event committee meeting on 4/25, which is next Monday
At what time?
at 6 p.m. Is that okay with you, Andy?
Yep.
Or is that too early?
Nope, that's fine.
Question, who else on the event committee?
Ellie, Dave,
And
Andy. Then in a couple more weeks, actually this will be Patrick Munyon's first day, will be referred as May 2nd. And we will have a council meeting that night, of course. And we will start transitioning as of May 2nd. And so that's something to look forward to, and the transition, I hope, will go smoothly.
I think it will.
And then the next Monday after that, I would like to propose that we have the committee that was gonna be set up for community projects. I can't remember what the name of that committee was.
Community Parks Development.
Okay.
So
Well, it wasn't just parks though, it was, I think, just community development.
it started out that way.
Yeah.
but It morphed.
Okay, well, whatever we determine the name of that committee is gonna be, I think the first thing we need to talk about at the committee is the purpose of the committee, and.
When, I was wanting the date.
Well, that's gonna be on, the date of that's gonna be on the 9th day of May, which is the second Monday in May.
If I recall correctly, the committee was gonna be members of other people were gonna be members of that committee, like maybe membership from the county commissioners,
Yeah.
membership from members of, or people from the public. Has anyone set up what that actual membership will look like beyond our city councilors?
I have two people that I've talked to about it, one being Dan Christopher sitting right there, and the other being Richard Foster. What's his job again?
Economic development.
Yeah.
So,
What time is that meeting?
oh, hang on just a minute, let's. Okay, so we need to get people that are interested on that committee, and so I guess maybe we should just discuss it right now. Do you remember the names of the 3 council people that are on the committee?
Myself, Steve, and Philberto.
Okay. And so Dan would like to be on that, and Richard Foster would like to be on that, that's county. Is that, what about Lori Anderson?
Yeah, her
She
name
would
is
be
mine.
County Park and Rec. And then we got Dave, Richard Foster, Dave, Gilberto, and Steve. Okay, can you think of any other community people that we would like to include on that?
A representative from the farmer's market, possibly,
Good idea.
for
Well, we
consideration.
can always add people as we go.
Well, it's a
The
public,
whole town.
it's a public committee,
Yeah,
and
that's the
so
whole town.
we're limited to
Nice.
3 council members, but as many of the public that want to, because the chamber's gonna wanna have at least 1 or 2 people in the conversation as well. And,
Yeah, I was gonna say that, yeah.
so I think,
Okay, well, we still need to kind of talk about the purpose of the committee and what we hope to gain out of this committee. I suppose we could just have as our first meeting some discussion about that,
lay out a plan.
kind of lay
Work
out,
plan.
begin the layout of the plan.
Yeah.
And develop a purpose for the group, and then go from there. So the proposed tentative date would be, for that would be on the 9th day of May. And this also give a chance for Patrick to be involved with that as well, and get him transitioning into that, taking over that committee.
So I think what started that conversation was a discussion about parks, the need for updating some of the parks, the potential to use ARPA funds to do that, some interest from others about a potential splash pad at the World War II park. And so if we can make that a priority for this, this group when they first meet, that would be appreciated.
There's quite a long list of areas that could be discussed, you know, and this covers a lot of ground, community development. I mean, I don't know if the downtown revitalization could be included in this. There's probably, I think there's a separate group that's doing something about that. I think the county is.
Well, it'd be the chamber, I think.
I was going to say
Is
the
it
chamber.
chamber?
The chamber is taking, wants to take a lead in that discussion, and actually, we should probably include Nicole in this.
Oh, it should, yeah, I think,
Or Phil Farmer.
yeah, either one, yes.
Yeah.
Jonathan Lewis,
Which one?
maybe.
Who did you say?
Jonathan Lewis.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be old ideas and new ideas. Well, the downtown revitalization is an old one. That can's been kicked down the road for
A long time.
decades.
Yes,
Well,
it has.
suffice to say, decades. And hasn't really ever picked up much steam for one reason or another. And let's take another shot at it.
Well, there's a new thing, and are you going to talk about the CDS applications?
I could.
I think it'd be appropriate, because that'll bring everybody up to date on what went on all last week. It has to do with money for the different projects.
Well, the said CDS, congressionally directed spending process came out from the federal government. So the House of Representatives and representatives for Washington, which would have been Jamie Butler's office, and Senator Murray and Senator Cantwell, they had an application process whereby we could apply for grant funding for certain projects within the city of Goldendale. So we took our first two priority projects, and one is the wastewater treatment plant project, and we requested grant funding for that project, and to both Senator Murray and to Senator Cantwell's office. And then we also did one on lengthening and widening of the Goldendale Municipal Airport, the second request for them. And then we looked at downtown revitalization, but the downtown revitalization was not an eligible department or agency that was taking grant applications for those projects. So yes, we have been working on that quite a bit, and this actually has come out of the REDS project.
Exactly. It's
a way
the
to
REDS decision.
fund certain projects within the city of Goldendale, and actually some of the things we can use some of that REDS work that we did to develop a plan for this committee, because the committee talked about livability, community stuff, housing even, and downtown revitalization was on that list. So there are a lot of things that are sitting out there in the wings that need some development and purpose. So that's what we've been working on for this past week.
And we had letters, support letters that were turned in from Senator Kane, Representative Mossbrucker, Chris Corey, I believe, got his in, and then there were several others, and I've lost the names of them right now.
It was Jeff King, Emergency Management, and then also Jonathan Lewis from
Yes, Jonathan was the first one to provide a letter. So this is to get funding so we can do the things that the city wants us to do.
There were some resources that came in for the murals? Were there some resources that came in for the murals as well?
Well, that's a part of what, because the chamber wasn't able to qualify for this approach, I talked with the executive director of the chamber that will take the same approach that we are with the wastewater treatment plant to divide the project. It's so big. I mean, for the wastewater treatment, that's a $4 million project. We already have quite a bit of money that's been given either as grants or as forgiveness grants, I believe it was. You've got the term.
Principal forgiveness.
Principal forgiveness. And so we're well on the way, but we're asking for $2 million through this congressionally directed spending. We think that might be an appeal because they already see that this town is already working very hard to get the money that's needed. And I think that will, I'm hoping that will work. We have a lot of good, strong support for both of those projects, but for the matter of the art, what the chamber wants, there's a number of other types of funding we feel we can find and use to support the chamber. On the art side, they want to do art all through the downtown area, and they've started with a very unique example of what they want to do. It's absolutely gorgeous. So we'll help them to work all the elements of that particular proposal, because downtown revitalization is a part of that, to put in water and electricity, so the flowers and things can be handled without somebody running down the basement to get a bucket of water.
Well, I was under the impression that they had received something like $70,000 or $80,000 towards,
71,000.
towards the murals specifically.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
That just come from Senator King approved that just a couple days ago.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I don't know when they're, well, Nicole's gonna be working on the paperwork and when they'll get the funding, but, yeah.
I think it's
Checks in the mail.
Pardon?
Checks in the mail.
Yes.
Almost.
And it's in the newspaper, so you know it's gonna be there.
Okay.
What time?
Okay, so one more item, then I'll be done. And that is, there's been just some discussion about the tax increment financing program that
Right.
the state has approved. And it's TIF is the acronym for it. I haven't got this okayed with Carrie yet, Dan, but I'm hoping that our leadership group on the red side of things will take advantage of the person that I've contacted to give us some free advice about that program at our Reds leadership meeting, the next time they meet, which is May 11th.
May 11th, yeah.
So that's the next time that leadership group meets, and I'm gonna check into the possibility if there's any council members that are wanting to learn more about that program and how it could be used for the city, then maybe they can sign on to that Zoom call
Right.
and listen in to what he has to say. But I have to get this okayed through Carrie Papinich yet, but I know our group has talked about getting some information, and this guy Todd Chase, he's with a group called FCS, and he's very knowledgeable, dealt with a lot of it in Oregon, because Oregon has a similar program, and he's got a lot of experience with the Oregon plan. But since the one in Washington has just come out, and they've tweaked it a little bit, but he'll be able to talk about that and give us some feedback and a chance for question and answers. So anyway, I'll work that out with Carrie.
Good.
So that's it for now.
Thank you.
Did you
Sorry
guys
for all
set
that.
a time, sorry to interrupt, did you set a time for that parks meeting on May 9th?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. Here in
City
council
Hall.
chambers?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll start now with our council members, and I'll start with Mylan Mulling.
Well, thank you, Mayor. Again, I just want to say with the observatory, with the government visit, like Jay mentioned, it went off very well. And the mayor gave a great speech. I thought that went out very well also. And I talked to the governor about the pump storage project, and we had a good conversation on that. So anyway, that's all I have to say, Mayor.
All I have is, I'd like to publicly thank Nancy Kuski for doing the videos for us. I missed the last council meeting, and I was able to watch that, and thank her for all the other videos she does for the community. I know it's probably a thankless job, so thank you, Nancy.
Thanks, Nancy.
You're very well done.
I get a pay increase?
That's true.
Double it.
That'll work fine. Elliot. Lauren?
I had a couple clarifications from our last council meeting. One is about council motions. There was a discussion about whether or not we should be able to make a motion at any time, and just want to clarify this part of our municipal code. Section 204-120, council action votes motions. A motion may be made at any time regarding any subject under consideration by any council member who has obtained the floor, and if seconded, shall be voted on after the discussion. And I think this is important because as a legislative body, we should all be able to do so. We should all be able to act quickly. And I feel like relegating that to staff putting when a motion can and can't be made on the agenda and what that motion might be kind of puts that legislative responsibility in staff, and that's not the way that this body is supposed to convene it. So I just want to clarify that, yeah.
She's blowing kisses.
We are, by code, set to make motions at any time as deemed necessary. The other clarification was some misinformation about committee meetings and whether they're public or not. As long as there's not a quorum of this body meeting and making decisions for the body, committees of the council can meet and have discussions, bring in the public, meet independently, or, do as they see fit. So a committee meeting is not required to be a public meeting, and that's within Washington State RCW. And that RCW is 35A.12.120. So as we think about how we conduct our work and wanting to be efficient and effective, we can meet as a smaller body, 3 individuals of the city council as a committee, and not go through the full public process so that we can be effective and efficient with our time for the public.
And that committee will be putting forward recommendations to the council. That's a part of that, to keep it.
Yeah, that's part of it, is that the committees don't make decisions. They don't
No, but
conduct the business of the council. They do research, convene to discuss, gather information, and bring it back to the full council to make a decision. And that's where, that public process needs to take place, is when the business of the council is being conducted. So, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Dave,
Oh, I carried on long enough earlier.
worn out now.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah.
Steve?
Speaking of committees, I'd like to know if we could have another Public Works Committee meeting here in the near future.
Okay, get in line, Steve.
I know, that's why.
Well, we discussed having regular meetings
We
and
did.
some minutes on some of those for the
We did.
committee members,
Yes,
and that's
you're
kind
right.
of hasn't happened at all.
I'd still
And there
like
was a number of topics that the entire committee felt was important to work on and bring back to council. So.
I'd still like to push in that direction too, to establish
And now we
a
got
day
Pat,
of the month,
yeah, so we can shove that off.
just like our council meetings. And then we wouldn't have to bring it up all the time. We know it was done. But anyway, Public Works and the traffic safety, as long as I'm in line and you've pulled my number, throw the traffic safety in there. And also, I don't expect to do it tonight, but I would like to have some future discussion with the ordinance committee. And I don't even know who's on the ordinance committee. Ellie? Lauren?
I'm on.
And Mylan, okay. In hopes of, cleaning up some of the language on what old nuisance ordinances, and I think it can be cleaned up to the extent that, well, like I commented at the last meeting, ordinances aren't the issue. It's the ability to enforce them, and that is relative to the wording in the ordinances, directly relative to that. And I've seen some areas where I feel it could be tightened up a little bit, if not a lot, but that's up to the committee. I just wanted to, I don't want to feel like I'm micromanaging.
Yeah, no, that was good, and I think we
I
talked
don't wanna
about,
be
you were
intrusive.
Larry sending us those ordinances and maybe some language or some focus areas. I don't know if you have something put together that you could shoot out to us,
That might move the work along.
so that, we can get together and talk about them.
I mean, I can't, because I've been four.
Right, you can't attend, but you can send us the ordinances you're thinking of and any comments on them that
Well,
help.
Larry
move
printed
along.
off with the entire nuisance ordinance,
Yes.
plus, I don't know if I've got that with me or not. Yes. Here's the nuisance ordinance. It's fairly lengthy, and there was one other one. Maybe that was this, it was this, about trailer parks, or one item would be relative or directly related to the sighting of recreational vehicles within the city limits and their applicable uses, which aren't any, to be honest, except for hooking up with it and going on vacation once in a while.
Oh,
So, but there is a noticeable increase in people living in,
right,
within the city now.
you see it.
And I think it would be pertinent to find that. I asked about it at the last meeting,
Right.
and I know there's a specific section that addresses recreational vehicles and how they can be cited within city limits. So it's in there somewhere.
It is.
And I don't think it's in the nuisance ordinance. I don't know if it's in the trailer park one. I haven't had a chance to go through it
Do you
completely.
think you used to be able to live in for 30 days a year?
Yes,
There's varying lengths of time depending on what they're being used for, such as if you're working on your house. I believe it's everything from 30 days to 60 days to 3 months, or even 6 months. And that's relative to some towns. Let's take towns in Arizona. People go down there for 6 months at a time. And those, RVs are all over the place within the city on private lots.
Right.
And so, without looking into their ordinances relating to that, one doesn't know. But I know we've crafted ordinances relative to that and set the standards time-wise and where they can be positioned and the whole bit. But the point here is, because of the economics, because of the housing availability, I mean, there's a number of factors at play here, without a doubt. And one has to be sympathetic to a certain extent, but I believe the city has to be on top of it to a certain extent too, because it's one of those issues that if you don't address it now, it will steamroll us. It will become overwhelming, and it'll get to the point where, well, the longer you let it persist, the harder it is going to be to deal with it. And so, I think rather sooner than later would be a good idea. Because like I say, I've seen around town, and I've had people comment
Yeah, it's obvious when that's happening.
to that. And crazy, I was talking with somebody I've known forever around here, never paid any attention to where they lived, but in the course of conversation, oh, I'm living in, she was asking me if I had any rentals available, and I said, well, I don't. She says, well, I've been living in my motorhome, and I expected to, well, just in a pinch type thing, I'm having to live in my motorhome. And in the course of conversation, I asked her, well, how long have you been there? 15 years. 15 years.
Good grief.
And I asked her where, told me where, and I've been driving by it for 15 years. That's where she's been living. That's just one example, and it's proliferated since then, over 15 years. In fact, right now, I don't know what's going on, one of the spots down there where the trailer burned a year or two ago, the slab is still there. There's a nice RV set up on it, hooked up to the sewer and the electric right now. And that's just one example. There's a lot of them around town where you're going to have to kind of look a little bit, but you'll see it. They're sitting there. But anyway, without taking up a whole lot more time, I wanted to bring that up. Specifically with the code enforcement and the committee, something that could look into specifically.
And I think, I know you talked about you'd end up being the fourth. We'll work with that to help it, but if you provide that type of information to the committee, it's going to be a huge impact, positive, for that committee to get the information they need to be able to discuss it. And you can be in those discussions. You just aren't a member of that committee, but you can be in the discussion.
Certainly. Well, one of the main things is scared up the language, the actual ordinances that's on file, it's in the archives. And as far as examples, I mean, I can go ahead and start making a list. But we've got our law enforcement officers, they cruise around a lot, our code enforcement officer, and some of these, you're gonna have to actually look into it.
Yeah.
You can't just drive by and say, aha, write it down and start writing a fine or making paperwork. So again, it's a touchy subject.
Oh yeah.
And I realize that, and I would like to emphasize that. I don't want to come after this with both guns blazing, just, I think it's a situation that should be dealt with and sooner than later.
With LA and Mylan's consent, I'll take on, especially if you have like specific examples to share, leading up that review with the ordinance committee. But I think with respect to specific sites, working with the code enforcement officer. But if you want to give me, maybe we can get a photocopy of what you have, Steve, and then I can.
Well, I got these
Start-
from Larry.
Okay.
They're in the archives.
Well, it looks like you've got some notes in there, though.
Well, I did. I
Some
went
highlights,
through
so.
this one here is for a building abatement. It has declaration of purpose, definition, permissible ordinances, appeals, and all that. And I did go through it, highlighted some of the language.
Maybe you and I could sit down together and we'll go through that stuff, and then
Sure.
I'll take it back to the.
And that's when I got to the actual nuisance, the actual ordinances, and that's where we don't have a problem with the ordinances other than maybe cleaning up some of the language and simplifying it. No, it's a matter of, because of that, they're hard to enforce. And the state of Washington is leaning on these issues pretty much like they are other regulations and what have you. Now, you want to,
I just wanted to say, when you have this meeting, something like that, please let me know so I can come, I can pass on some information. I just learned recently when you're talking about them, but I'm coming from the angle of RVs on the city street being parked, okay? But on private property, that's of course code enforcement. But I do have some information that you folks are going to want to know.
Thank you, Jim.
probably not like here.
It'll be problematic for everybody.
For sure.
Yeah, because
That's
Good.
It's all cause enough trouble for one night.
At the close for the mayor's remarks, I started putting together some information from Robert's Rules of Order, but I need to coordinate it all with the town or the city's provisions for rules for the council on business and how we do it and what we do. But there were some key things that came out. One of them, I probably shouldn't mention this, but it's exactly what is required. The chairman is the servant of the group. The group is the city council. And the city council has the final word, or final authority. So we need to understand that. I'm here just to try to help get work done, not to say this is what we will do. All members in the group have completely equal rights, obligations, and privileges. Nobody's set ahead of anybody else. One of the key ones is courtesy and respect are required. And that's one that very often is a very difficult time if that's not taking place. And the other thing is one thing at a time. And I went back and looked at what one thing at a time is. It's whenever we're talking, I don't interrupt Steve, Dave doesn't interrupt you. It's to let the person have their say, and then you can dispute it, but let them have their say first. And there's an interesting one that every member of the group should have the opportunity to speak. If they choose not to, that's fine. So we'll probably be doing more round robins just to bring out people that may not speak very often, but would like to, and somebody who speaks a lot can overpower that. On the public, we're going to put something in the near the entrance to this room on the different things that the public needs to understand about city council business, what we're doing, why we're doing it, what the rules are, including that people that are there, they speak during the public comment, but they don't just interrupt somebody's discussion or ask questions without being recognized for that purpose. So these are things that probably won't be very popular, but the one that I struggled with the most was that I'm a servant, not a at the meeting. But those are the only things, but I think this is something that will help us to bring our meetings closer and stay closer to on track. And that can be a real problem if we get off track too much. With that, we'll go to public comment. And there's a 3-minute limit. Anybody that's here for public comment or on the line or on the Zoom for public comment, please speak up. Roger.
I just,
Roger.
oh yeah, you want me to go up? Thank you. Wouldn't be the first time I'm in trouble with you. I just want to say that I am a coin collector and a numismatist, and I absolutely salute the fact that you're doing coins. I like the first thing. And I have here 20 bucks, I'm going to buy your first 2 coins off you, Dave. And the reason I say that is because Wasco County went through its sesquicentennial in 2004. And they made coins and they sold like hotcakes. We wished we had doubled the order. It was actually a little moneymaker for the process. So here you go.
Okay.
You got your receipt?
I'll get a receipt, yes.
I'll worry about that.
Okay, okay.
Thank you.
I'll never forget.
There's witnesses. So.
Thank you, Roger.
Thank you, Roger.
That committee's making money. Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else for public comment?
Yeah.
Commissioner?
Thank you. I just wanted to say how much I appreciate all of you. And I think the community should as well. It's a volunteer job that's a thankless job, and I appreciate how y'all get along even when you have different views. It's encouraging. Thank you. I think the Reds thing is really happening with the projects that are going on here in the city and the chamber and the hospital. It's working. If we can keep that momentum going with the Parks Committee. If you guys know of community members that are, pillars of the community that might want into that, bring them along or think about them during that. Because I've been reached out by 2 private entities for private grant dollars that can't go to the city and can't go to the county. So we would have to funnel them through a 501c3 to the community group that could then use them for whatever project your group wants to go that way for. So if you guys can think about people like that, that would be a good key to have on that committee. But I don't know, it's just exciting to see the projects that are happening and the movement that's finally happening in this community. So that's all I have to say. I'll give the rest of my time to Steve since he needs more.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, Commissioner Christopher. Excellent. Any others for public comment? But you're right. There's a lot of pride in how we work together, and that's a very positive thing for a council. With that, we have a motion to, we're not going to close the meeting, we're going to go into executive session.
We don't need to.
Oh, that's right, we don't have to. All right, good.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
You can't do it that way. It's
You're a servant, remember that.
well, I'm kind of a touchy subject.
You are a great vote.
That's about it.
But that's a big.
We gotta vote.
We